this is Runa and you're listening to the Changemakers podcast, where we share tips, insight, tools and stories from other changemakers designed to motivate you to become the change you want to see in your world. Make sure you join our Changemakers community at runamagnus.com/podcast. And now, this is your time to sit back, relax and enjoy. Hello, beautiful people. It's Runa here at the Changemakers podcast with yet another amazing person as a guest, David Browett, the guy who is, when you meet him, he's all alive. I met David a couple of years ago in the network for transformational leaders. And I mean, he says that he is the sensorial guy, and I can vouch for that. He definitely is. Everything about him makes your sense go alive. I mean, you kind of like go alive, sparkle something, David. And so I'm super excited to have him as our guest today. So welcome, David, sensorial guy.
Thanks, Rina. This is very exciting. Looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So am I. First of all, David, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know that you're born in the United States and you've, for the past 25 years, been living in France. But why that road? What happened?
I'm still trying to figure that one out. The Big Bang happened.
The Big Bang, yeah.
Yeah, I followed my bliss, as the saying goes. In a lot of ways, I really fled to follow the adventure of my life. I'd gotten just out of college at UCLA studying political science, and realized that I didn't want to go to law school. I failed horribly on the entrance exams. Got on a plane 3 weeks after I got out of college and came to Paris, France. And that was 27 years ago. And I haven't moved back. And what this enabled me, leaving my own country, finding a whole new sensibility, a whole new culture, a whole new world in France and in Europe, was to realize that there's so many ways to experience life. There's so many ways to connect with people, and that we live in this extraordinarily diverse world. And I realized that for me, life was about tapping into the, phenomenal quality and variety of people, of food, of visual stimulations, of culture, that really makes the fabric of what the planet is so, remarkable for. We're so fortunate not to live in a place with only one language, one culture, one food, one architecture, one way of transporting people. I mean, everything is different everywhere you go. So that was really quite remarkable for me. And that led me on my path of, finding a way to feel like I was really following my own way of growing, and sort of my path of reaching this so-called thing of self-actualization, which was an anxiety for me about, was I really going to connect with who I am and why I'm here and my gifts, be able to share them and stand out and be original and feel appreciation and love, and be able to give that appreciation and love. And all the while, I mean, let's not, this is not a hippie dialogue here, all the while live a super ultra performance professional life also, which in the entertainment world I did. And now obviously I do something different in the last 5 years, but it's really all about connecting with people. It's really all about that exchange of energy and love and fun and conversation, and that the magic in life is really in that for me. Yeah. It's in the pure human connections. That's really where all the magic is. And it's great, all these toys and tools and gadgets and high tech things, all this kind of stuff, but we keep coming back to the source of what really makes it worth our being here, and what we really share, and how we grow and expand and connect and collaborate. It comes down to the quality of our relationships, our people connections.
So true. It sounds to me that there was a moment in your life, it was an aha for you, that this is really what it's all about. that whole thing. I love how you talk about the diversity of cultures and food and architecture. And I know as I follow you on the social media, I see that you are exploring that on every single day. And it's so beautiful to see things through your eyes, because you open up my eyes for things that I might not have noticed even, but you have that great gift of seeing that. But I might be assuming here, but nevertheless, this is my gut feeling. My gut feeling tells me that there was something down the line that was that big aha moment for you, where you went from being asleep to that alivefulness. What happened?
It's probably when I got off the train station here, arriving in Paris, and realized that, I'd spent the first 21 years of my life, and it wasn't like I lived in a vacuum. My family was very cultured, somewhat intellectual, into entertainment, and my mom spoke 5 languages. My dad liked to eat, Japanese food. He took me to discover that when I was 6, and eat sushi, and he traveled around the States, and they were very open minded at a certain level connection. So for me, it was suddenly the realization when you actually have the experience of not just going to and forgive me who's ever been to Disney World or whatever, but not just going to all the 12 pavilions of the different countries, to get an experience of what it's like to really be and live and exchange with people that have grown up in a place that has nothing to do with yours, and actually realizing that you have a lot more to share and a lot more in common than you realize. And for me, the real eye-opener was probably a few months after I got here, and I was on a trip in Spain, and I just finished touring about Europe with some friends, and I was alone. And I remember I was in a village called Ronda in the south of France. It's an extraordinary village with a ravine in it and great food. And I went out to a nightclub one night just alone, to go kind of meet some people, go dancing, kind of let off some energy. And I remember walking into this, underground in a cellar nightclub, and there was Spanish music playing. And I couldn't believe that at the end of the evening, 4 or 5 hours later, that I'd realized that the entire evening was Spanish music. And so for me, coming from the US in this very monocultured vision in some ways, this, again, even though it's quite open to things, but all in one language mostly, everyone's listening to kind of the same Anglophone, et cetera, et cetera. Suddenly realize that there are worlds of cultures out there that love their own music, that love their own lives, that love their own culture. And a lot of it is gorgeous and amazing. And if we don't open to that, we are absolutely missing what this, eclectic world has to offer us. And being open to that, to me, is being open to the diversity and the variety in the world. And this is how we start to be able to appreciate and love others that maybe don't think like us.
Wow.
They don't work like us. They don't vacation like us. They don't have, similar, perhaps sometimes values with us. And so there's the eclectic side to it, but also, of course, when you come to the connection, it's actually finding a way where you do have places that overlap. So it was this one like disco dancing night. It was, first of all, it was this epiphany that there are worlds out there that are different, and I don't own, the country I come from doesn't own what the good life is, doesn't own what, success is, happiness, all these things that people are, seeking and experiencing. So that was just such an eye-opener for me. And I realized that all around the world, I could go to different places and have a similar kind of experience. And I wanted to appreciate that. And,
sounds to me like you went out of your American box there.
Oh yeah, totally. Out of my American box, out of my comfort zone box, out of my, it's so true. You're wearing like these blinders, it's like going to India, for example, for this first time is, you think you understand what life is about and what the world is about. And then you go to some place like India and it explodes your impression, your senses, and it's a sensory overload, with a culture and traditions and things that, they're burning people in the river there and all these kinds of things that you couldn't even imagine worldwide-less movies and things.
And I think being able to get to these places and observe and really sense it, seeing people for who they are and not putting them into those imaginary boxes takes it to another level. I know you're really good at that because I've seen how you talk to people and how you see people, which is extraordinary as well. And I think my personal opinion is that that's where really that makes you that's your X factor, as I would say. It's that amazing gift that you've been given to see people who they are and bring that sensorial life into other people's lives. And I want to go a little bit into that area in your life, because now you've been all over the world. I know you're working with executive teams, with teams and entrepreneurs as well, really bringing in a whole new set of life into their professional lives. Can you tell us a little bit about your professional life and what you're offering there? Because I think it's so interesting.
Sure. Well, as you know, I come from the entertainment world originally. So my background in my family and also in my career has been largely in the realm of entertainment media. So cinema, movies, TV, these types of things, from product development to distribution to things along these lines. And I did it always at an international level. To be Europe, Middle East, Africa, or international, which again fits in with my whole theme of this incredible diversity that is around us. And all of that really opened me up to the sense that people can work a lot better together if they're way more open-minded about really seeing other people, appreciating other, getting curious about other people, to the point where you actually start to care, because you start to focus more on the person and not so much on the results. And for me, that's going to help you get the results that you want to have. So there's all this relationship, interpersonal relationship stuff. There's all this, communication between people. There's all of this, the way that you actually make people feel. There's all this, can you actually open up to people? Can you share? Can you really walk the talk? And can you cultivate relationships? Do you actually know how to cultivate and grow a relationship with people and create loyalty and engagement, and at the same time create a space where people can feel free to be daring and do something a little bit dangerous sometimes, to be disruptive and actually break out? Because a lot of what's happening today in companies is there's a huge level of competence. We've pushed everything up to this rational, everyone's got 20 diplomas and degrees, and so you want to go and, find an advertising agency, and they're all really good. They've all got really top talent, the best diplomas and this, that, and the other, and the greatest creatives, and they've worked with everyone and they know everyone. And at the end of the day, though, where they're struggling tremendously, most of them, is even within their own company, creating connections and relationships that make it so the outside world, when they meet with them, wants to work with them, wants to co-create something with them, that they feel the trust, that they feel the complicity, that they feel the fluidity and the flow within the organization through the way that the people relate to each other.
Yeah.
And that then transmits, of course, to the client who says, I want to be a part of this. I can see why this is great. Not only is the competence there, but these people know how to not take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to relate with them.
Yeah.
They see me. They ask great questions. They're listening, paying attention. And they're fun, and they pitch, and they show their charisma, and they've been able to work on themselves in a way that they're going to help us elevate ourselves also. Yeah. So it's not just a transactional, we've got a competence and this is what you need. That's, of course, a given. That's like, 101. I'm talking about going to the ultra level of connection and human relations so that you stand out in a way that few are able to do today. It's like an amplification of emotional intelligence, charisma, human connection, relationship building, networking, working on a lot of these, so-called soft skills, which are like the secret sauce of any organization that's been able to really grow themselves at some point for me is that they've got to have the human connection side at a level that matches their technicity, their technology, their hard skills. So my work is a lot about liberating that energy in people, getting people to get out of this long-term conditioning, like we were talking about earlier, where people, I'm in a certain job, I have to be a certain way.
I call it the box.
They're trying to get people to be disruptive and get out of their box, but they're not walking the talk. It's like this intellectual 100-page PowerPoint.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the PowerPoint that's going to get everyone out of the box. It's not the data. So, there are things that need to be in place on this side. Obviously, I'm not talking about the professional competence.
No.
That needs to be there, but how are you making that original? How are you making that more humanly connected? Because people want to work with people that they feel will be good for them. People want to work with people that they can believe in, that they can believe, that they can really feel, comfortable with, without it necessarily being a relationship where you're not going to push people out of their comfort zone. Because actually, I think that's a myth that we have, is when we're in an intimate, professional intimacy relationship, that should be the kind of relationship where you can say the things that you probably wouldn't say in kind of a regular relationship.
Oh gosh, if that would be the common thing that people would have, that combination of courage and kindness, empathy at the same time. Oh wow. And all the misunderstandings that are out there because things are not really being said, or not really, You have quite a task in front of you, my darling.
Good. There's a market, as they say, right?
I think there is a market. I think there might be one business somewhere over there that might need you. No joke. I think
people are so hungry for this. There's this. Every time a lot of us who work in this world, we're meeting with executives, we're meeting with their teams, we're meeting with people, and we give them a little bit of a taste of what it's like to really connect on a different level with the people we're working for. Because everyone wants to be in a situation that's a work situation that's more inspiring, that's more, that you really want to give yourself into, that you want to give your life force into, which most people are doing, but they're doing it under a pressure that's too extreme, that's only about pure performance, that a lot of the time is wasted energy and wasted focus. And at the end, they're not really drawing out of it, even for themselves, anything that's sustainable, that's viable. So many people are leading to burnout. I mean, meet companies where they say one person comes into the human resources department like every day and says they're in burnout. I mean, this is not normal in, so-called first world, second world countries, whatever you want to call it, where we are so spoiled already in so many ways that we've not gotten to a place where between us, we can actually achieve ultra performance and results and outcomes without it, ruining everyone on the way.
So really, it sounds like really being able to go from doing to being.
That's a mix of both of those, and bringing, people suppress so much energy and so much frustration, and so the embodiment of that through, more joy, more fun, more release actually gets you to stop like withholding that and blocking that, and again, it's kind of like this, it lets you get out of the box. When you're in box, how are you going to connect with someone else that's in their box? It's not going to happen.
No,
you can open your box up so it includes their box, right?
Yeah.
And this takes movement and energy and joy and fun and release and liberation. And people are a little bit scared of where this will go usually. And this is why they're kind of hesitating to practice and train more in this space. And yet that's the real disruption. That's the real, what you're talking about, Runa, getting people out of these boxes. And it takes time, effort, a focus, resources, investment, the chief leaders in companies, and everyone's got to be on board to be part of it. But the companies that are going to be doing this, that are finding a way to relate like this, are going to accelerate dramatically in the next 5, 10, 20 years, especially as the new generation that's coming up wants to work in these kinds of companies. They're not going to build loyalty, these companies, if they're not able to create that within the teams, within each other, with their clients. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And it's essential for it to happen. If it doesn't happen, it basically means I think businesses are going to go out of business if they are not going to be on board with what people are really screaming for. Yeah. To be seen and to be able to live and be fully present in their lives so that they feel that they have contributed without being burned out. Yeah, so true. I know that you do specific things in your training. One day I'm going to go for your central day or your whole concept, because it looks like it's a mixture of not that traditional training that you might go into, but you use a lot of food. Mm-hmm. in everything you do, which I think is so unique. Can you tell us a little bit about where that comes in?
Well, I love to cook.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that food is the greatest means by which to gather people. Uh-huh. Particularly if the food is really exceptional, if the food has been infused with love, if there's been attention on the food, if the flow and the beauty has been transmitted in the way that it's presented and the way that it's offered, and the hosting and all of this is really sort of our original way of gathering. Mm-hmm. And particularly here in France, I learned a lot about the beauty of that ritual and that tradition, and wanted to find a way to use that in more other sorts of formats. And so in my experiences, actually, I bring in food because it's really it's like the red line that goes through the whole experience, where we eat pretty much the whole day, really, like a chef's tasting menu type of experience. And the idea is, on one side, to bring people to a really sensorial, present moment awareness of what they're experiencing, to again trigger in them through an exceptionally beautiful, remarkably tasty, original culinary experience that so draws them into a state of wonder and awe and observation and attention that is guided intentionally, so that they share in the same moment with everyone else something that is really life enforcing. Yeah. And that reminds us of how beautiful and stunning and gorgeous is the life that we lead if we take a moment to really appreciate it and get more juice out of the orange, get more beauty out of the moment. And I'm really, in a lot of ways, training people to come back to be able to experience such things in a way where it like 100x's their appreciation. And as we do that with the food, where the sole focus is actually on each step as it happens, so we're not doing 5 things like eating and talking, this and all these kind of distractive things. We are sharing about the food, but the intention is largely, how can we actually appreciate more and not just like stuff our face or use words like, I'm full, or all these things that are like utilitarian based experiences of the richness and the energy and the abundance that a food experience actually brings into us. So it's used as a vehicle to draw present moment awareness, sharpen and increase your ability to appreciate through your senses what you're experiencing, and also to then share it more, externalize it more, and not just to say this is good, but what is good about it. There's some texture in there that reminds me of the seaweed I ate when I was in Japan. I mean, there's all these things that start to happen. Or like one of my favorite movies, the movie Ratatouille from Disney, where you see this terrible, horrible food critic who tastes the ratatouille, and like there's this flashback where he's suddenly a little kid in the fields with his family or his grandmother or whatever, and it's like this transformative moment through food. And so that mixed with then the connection with people, with artistic performances and speakers and things, you suddenly open up people to a vastly broader, deeper, immersive, present moment appreciation of what's going on in the space there. And the magic happens there because suddenly people get out of their head, they get out of their own orbit, because we've helped you release and connect with something deeper, something vaster, something more meaningful that liberates you to feel at home and loved and appreciated and cared for in a premium way. And that way you open yourself up to share yourself in that way, more or less. And the rest is pretty magical, actually.
Oh, I can imagine. Where can people go to find out more about your programs and the gifts that you're sharing to the world, David?
Yeah, you can go up on my website, davidbrower.com, you can also look on alivefulness.com, which is with one L.
Mm-hmm.
And you can learn about Sensorial Experience Day and some of the other customized experiences we're doing within companies and with other groups, with startups, with all different kinds of people that are really looking to get that X factor, as you call it, kind of into place.
Yeah.
And just love life more, all of life, your work, the people around you, and open yourself up so you really live a more graceful, elegant, fantastic, juicy, daring life of alivefulness.
Thank you, David. I'm ready to go into the day and live the life to the fullest after listening to you. Thank you so much, David. All the information about you is going to be on our show notes as well, so people can find out even more about you and links to your website, etc., etc. Thank you, David, for bringing all this light to the world.
Value for you? I sure hope so. If so, feel free to share the love and give us your generous review on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify. And remember, you can always go to runamagnus.com and find out more about the Changemakers and how we can help you driving the change you want to see in your world.